So hi everyone and welcome back to the Pete Talk YouTube channel. A little rally update from the last round, which was Plains Rally in Bala in Wales, because actually next weekend we've got the next round, so I thought I'd get this out whilst it's still fresh in my mind. First ever gravel rally, first ever time driving on gravel, and it was a bit of a baptism of fire. Had no idea what it's going to feel like. The only time I've been on gravel before is driving up someone's driveway, to be honest. First time on pace notes. However, playing 20 years pretty much of Codemasters rally games, Colin McRae 1, 2, 3, Dirt Rally 2. I kind of knew what the pace notes were going to be like, and my format was 6 fastest. Cal did absolutely sterling job, and it felt very, very natural, to be honest. So what can I do to the car to make it survive 5 rounds of Welsh Forest? Now, these Welsh Forest stages are some of the best gravel stages we've got in the UK, world class, some of them. And Dovey is a place that I've been to a lot on the mountain bike, Dovey Bike Park with downhill mountain bike, but you're not really drifting around on a downhill mountain bike. So the feeling of driving on gravel is nothing really that can be simulated until you do it. But yeah, 5 stages. They weren't going to be that rough. Luckily, we had very, very dry weather, a bit of rain in the week preceding it, so the kind of substrate was a little bit moist and it held the gravel together really well. The faster cars, we were running in front of them, so we didn't have to worry about ruts, and we're only doing half the stages, so we only did the morning loop, not the afternoon loop, so we always were in front of the main field and had pretty good conditions. But still, you never really know. They've been doing a lot of regrading. On stage 3 we started to get cricket ball sized lump rocks just tossed down in patches of about 100-200 meter stretches, and that, you know, the only thing you can do to that in the case of a rally car is get up as high as possible. So in the weeks preceding the event, I basically jacked up the coilovers, which are BC Racing coilovers, as high as possible on the collars, by using the collars above the cups and the strut, not on the spring, because I don't want to add preload. Because if you add preload to springs, which most people do to change ride height, you take away a lot of small bump sensitivity. So I left those springs when it was at full droop just ever so slightly loose on the collars without being rattly, and got full ride height I could out of the strut into the cup thread. This is the front of the car, this is towards the back of the car, and this is the plastic fuel tank which goes the full width of the car. It straddles the exhaust and it's pretty much level with the floor. However, when I bought the car, I noticed straight away that the front corners of the fuel tank guard, this is a kind of Inegra polymer carbon matrix that's made by a guy in Wales, Cymru Composites I think it is. It actually completely worn holes, and I put some pictures in it. It worn the gravel and the ruts had just worn holes in the front of this because it had started to abrade the plastic fuel tank underneath. And just to give you an idea, this guard is about 3 to 4 mil thick in places. So obviously for tarmac rallies, the next rally, it doesn't matter that much, but I wanted to sort it out and I didn't want to spend too much money on it. So what I've done is I've stuck some pretty heavyweight fabric. This is 300 gram, like non-crimp UD. It's probably a bit luxurious for this task. And I've got a kind of bi-directional layup, and I've probably got about 3 millimeters worth of reinforcement on here. Now, like I said, I'm going to do a much better repair on this later in the season when I can drop the fuel tank, but I've got half of Iran's oil and gasoline in here, and it was too heavy to chest press on my own underneath the car. Yeah, it was quite hard to stick these on because obviously once they're fully wetted out with epoxy, they're quite heavy. So I use the fast setting epoxy and I let it kind of tack off a little bit on the bench before I stuck them on, and then I stuck it on when it was a little bit stiffer, so it actually stuck straight away and didn't just fall off onto the driveway. Tyre pressures fairly standard. I think I ran 26 front and rear. They're brand new MRF tyres for this event. On stage 5 we actually cut one of them on the back and ended up with a slow puncture, so we were very, very lucky. On stage 5 I actually got into the top 10 of all the minis, including the R53s. Now my car's not even been mapped, so I'm running about 90 horsepower, and some of those cars are probably on about 220, so I was dead chuffed to get right up there in the R53s and started to really push the pace on stage 5. Now let's go through the stages. Stage 1 and 2. Stage 1 and 2 were just north of Bala Lake, completely different geographically and different gravel type feel to stages 3 to 5. The substrate was quite loose. It was more of a limestone based gravel, and they were just like marbles. Great stages, lots of elevation change, but I found it very challenging. On stage 1 I basically crapped my pants. Cal, the co-driver, looked up at one point because he thought we were going off on I think the 3rd or 4th corner of stage 1, and then he lost his place in the note. So about 400 or 500 meters after that I didn't have any notes, which was, to be honest, not a massive problem because I was driving very, very cautiously after that.
Stage 1 complete.
But we got through stage 1. I was absolutely delighted. And then stage 2 was kind of more of the same, but stage 2 was net uphill and quite a lot of uphill drags, and the 90 horsepower Mini won. Well, even Cal said, wake me up when we get to the top. I remember there was one open hairpin right with all the photographers standing on it where all the Rally 2 cars are drifting, four-wheel drifting, and some of them are picking up an inside wheel. I'm basically just flat out around that corner. I didn't have enough speed to even need to brake for the hairpin. It's quite embarrassing. And I felt, I just, for the stages carrying on that, I was just like, right, I just need to carry on shifting down, or just not going into third. But I don't know, I think the car was okay, it was more on a lack of commitment, but the rest of stage 2 started to flow a bit better. Now stage 3, there was a long road traverse to sort of Dovey area over towards Machynlleth. I know it's like a very slaty gravel, and the substrate is like a compact, hard pack, quite grippy surface. But on parts of stage 3, there was just no gravel at all. It was very, very hard pack, very high speed stage. It really benefited to be committed. You can take a lot of time on that stage if you're committed. However, in the first couple of kilometers of that stage, there were huge potholes at speed. So you're in like sort of 4th gear, pushing 100 miles an hour, and there are just potholes. You don't see how deep they are because they're full of water. So do you try and avoid them and maybe get a bit squiffy, or do you just smash straight through them? Well, I tried to avoid as most of them I could. Going through stage 3, the last couple of kilometers of stage 3, which is the longest stage of the rally, featured these horrible regraded sections where they'd obviously done some maintenance on the gravel and just dumped huge lumps of aggregate, and I'm talking rocks about that, and not round like a cricket ball. They're cricket ball size, but they were really loose and they're just sort of floating, and as we hit them, there's a big ramp onto them and a ramp off of them, and it was like driving on ice. And the noise, I can still hear it now, and we both exclaimed in the car like how bad it was, and I just thought the car's gonna fail, like something on this car's gonna break because of these rocks. And like, that's exactly why on a rally car you have to run your lines, fuel, brake lines, everything through the cabin, because something would just get smashed. And I actually took a massive knock to one of the rear suspension arms. I think it's the lower arm. It's got a massive dent in it. Didn't knock it out true, but it's massively dented. It's just because one of those cricket balls flicked up and hit it. Anyway, we managed to get through stage 3. Stage 4 was one I really fancied, and stage 5 because I kind of felt like I was coming home, because I've been to Dovey so many times and I just love that part of the world. And yeah, I just sent it on stage 4 and 5. It was really grippy. There was not much kind of loose gravel on top. I really got into the flow of it. Particularly stage 4. Stage 4 was very short and you could really attack it. Somehow I thought that was less risky. I don't know why, but on stage 5, I think the added pressure of all the spectators, because stage 5 was a spectator stage by the organisers. There was lots of people at the side of the road, lots of photographers, and my mate James was there filming, and I think the pressure got to me a little bit, and I started to push probably a little bit too hard. The times were good, minis, but including the Cooper S's, but on the last corner, the last stage for us, all I had to do was get it to the end. I nearly went off. So I put in the notes in the week prior to the rally, when we had a video call, me and Cal, we had a video call, we went through all the notes, and I said, put Slippy under trees, final corner, stage 5. Something got lost in the Wrexham lager that we had in the night before. It may be that added note dissolved, I don't know, but it wasn't in the notes. I'm not blaming Cal, but I was probably just going a bit hot into there. I lost the back over this slight crest, and it was slippy under the trees. Just the back came round, and 1 minute we're seeing trees, next minute we're seeing ditch, and my arms are going like a fucking window cleaner on crack. So we managed to gather it up and basically just roll it across the finish line. I didn't even know what gear I was in. I was just panicking. I had sorry Cal on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, we got it done. I trundled back to service, or back to HQ, and that was the end of our rally. We started to get to the final time control, don't forget. Back to the end of the rally, back in Bala, and I was just basically speechless. I just probably had the best fun I've ever had on four wheels in my life. On some of the best stages in the UK. I couldn't have asked for a better weekend. Now, how much does this all cost? Is this really expensive? Because I get asked that a few times, you know. Well, the rally for us, because it's a half rally in the minis, and that's one good thing about the Mini Rally Championship, was about 500 quid entry. We're splitting that. So co-driver pays half, I pay half, so I pay 250. I've got my trailer hire, which is 150 quid. I've got my diesel, which is probably another 120 quid. So camping, I was very lucky to staying in Cal's motorhome, which we had our breakfast in, coffee I brought. I took Cal for dinner to say thank you for the accommodation. So all up, probably about 500 to 600 quid in it for a whole weekend. And I don't think that's bad for proper stage rallying on some of the best roads gravel roads in the UK. So there are people that spend a lot more than that. There are people who spend more on support, like motorsport crews and service crews to go and support them at the rally. However, this one, the good thing about this rally is when I was packing the car a couple of days before the event, I was like, well, there's not much point taking loads of spares, taking loads of tools, because there's no service for us. We do stage 1 to 5 and that's it. We're all on road sections. There's no intermediate service. So if something goes wrong, you're out of the rally. So it's quite nice, actually. I didn't have to pack loads of that stuff. And it makes it cheaper, obviously, if you don't have a support crew. So you are risking it if you don't have a support crew. You've got to fit something yourself, but I'm willing to take that risk. And yeah, it paid off, because unlike a single Verlinia rally when you can basically service the car after every stage, this, like, I just took as many spares in the back of the rally car that I could. I took basically a load of zip ties, a big ratchet strap, a tow rope, and like a very small kind of multi-socket wrench set, just to fit something and some fuses that might go wrong between stages, because there's no point taking all your big tools and axle stands and stuff, because you won't have time to fix it. So that was the Plains Rally. I think for my first gravel event, I can't have asked for any more. It was absolutely amazing. I want to thank the Mini Rally Challenge. I want to thank Kielder for the tool support. Irony is we didn't need them, and ModLab for the wrap. The wrap went down really well at Scrutineering. A lot of people commented on the kind of silk cut livery. So I'm dead chuffed with that, and I'm already thinking, and I'm semi-planned the next one for next year, which will probably drop in here for a split second. Now, another little thing about the suspension setup of the car, I don't have a rear anti-roll bar on my car. Whoever built it in the first place, or long ago when it was a road car, the mounts obviously were corroded, and they've just been hacked off. So my rear subframe, I don't have the ability to put an anti-roll bar on, and I really struggled with that at Anglesey, which was the Tarmac Rally. The car just wanted to understeer everywhere because the back is so soft and wallowy. However, for the gravel, I actually think this came into play a little bit, and I actually stiffened up the rear dampers to sort of combat some of that softness on the back to get the car to rotate a little bit. And obviously on the gravel, if you don't have the anti-roll bar, the left and right rear wheels are completely decoupled corner to corner. So normally with an anti-roll bar, if your bump inputs are the same on both sides at the same time, there's no resistance from the anti-roll bar. But if you get independent bump inputs from left and right, your anti-roll bar is actually fighting that a little bit. So I'm not actually sad about not having an anti-roll bar on the rear anymore, because mine in the car handled really well. It was kind of neutral / a little bit oversteery, which for me was absolutely perfect. I didn't really get any understeer at all week. So another thing that came up in scrutineering, didn't mention to me, I think I was very early through scrutineering, but later on some of the scrutineers said that, you know, all our cars, the scuttles should be blocked. So if there's any liquids coming in the engine bay, any spillages, or, you know, rad blows up or oil or something, it doesn't go onto the windscreen. So I was, in the last couple of weeks, designed and manufactured these plates, which are basically the OEM shaped scuttle vents, just blanked off, and they'll be bolted in before the next rally, hopefully. So yeah, a few things like that to do before next weekend. But anyway, see you after the next one. Cheers.